Welcome to another edition of From the Coach's Office, brought to you by the Varsity Voices Media Network. I am Dan Frevaletti, and here with me is my co-host, Joe Frevaletti. Today, we welcome back to the podcast head coach of the Benet Academy Red Wings, Pat New.
If you are looking to buy or sell a home, contact RE/MAX Realtor and Circle of Legends recipient Christopher Cobb. Let Chris's extensive negotiating experience work to guide you on all of your real estate buying and selling needs. Contact Christopher now to discuss the right strategy for your personalized real estate buying and selling plan. His number is 630-420-0070, or you can visit his website at christophercobb.com.
Pat, thanks for coming on the podcast. You may or may not be aware, but you are our first repeat coach interview.
That's fantastic. Is there a prize that comes with that?
There's no prize, unfortunately. Maybe we have to think about something. We've talked about some Varsity Voices swag for a long time. We'll have to do it like they used to do on baseball broadcasts when the player would come on. You're going to get a steak dinner for two at Clara's. So
all you got to do, here's my suggestion: just create like a raffle and say we're going to enter your name in a dinner raffle.
There you go. Yeah. Well,
and I've got a question about swag later on in this, Dan. So we'll cover that.
We'll mark it down. All right.
Yes.
So we are recording this on Thursday afternoon, June 12th. And Coach, you have several players that play for the football team also playing in tomorrow's state semifinal baseball game. So that's got to be exciting. And, keeping it to football, do you think experience and success like that can carry over and help the football team?
100%. I think what's interesting is when there was a college coach that came in a couple years back, and he asked me, almost every college coach will ask, does he play other sports? And I asked one of them, I said, does that make a difference to you guys? And they said, absolutely. And the way he explained it stuck with me. And he said, if you got a pitcher on the mound and it's the bottom of the seventh with bases loaded, that guy's competing. And those skills and those pressure moments carry over to football. So we love guys like that. So I think it's awesome, and it's a winning culture over there. And so those guys come, and the expectation level and the attitude and everything else. And then, like I said, that competitive fire that's an acquired skill. So all of that stuff is just great for us.
Yeah, Coach, even though you've got some players doing some other sports and that, I'm sure you've got your off-season training and conditioning going on. How is that going, first of all? And have you made any changes or any tweaks to that program, from last year to this year?
The one thing we've done as an athletic department, actually, we hired a strength coach, a guy by the name of Morgan Nowitzki. And Morgan worked with a guy, if I might be mispronouncing it, Coach Cano over at Brother Rice, who's just an outstanding strength coach. So he's had great training, and now he's been basically running all of our sports, including basketball, girls softball, and then baseball and football. And that's been a great addition. So, and as a head coach, I got a guy working our guys out at 6 a.m. every morning in the off season. And then he takes them in the summer, and he does a great job with it. So that the biggest change is really hiring this coach and implementing his plan.
So as far as summer goes, Pat, I know there's a few less practices this summer than there has been in the past. And I don't know if that's a real big change for you, but do you find that you guys focus more, is it install heavy, or are there particular aspects of playing football that you want to focus on? How do you kind of break down the summer and what you have to do? What's the priority?
Yeah, great question. I told our team we have goals. The goals that we want to accomplish this summer, one is build fundamentals, right? We want to develop our fundamentals, master offense and defensive plays, and then develop this competitive fire as part of our culture within the program. And we've got ways of doing all three of those things, but that's really what we want to accomplish in the summer. And then the fourth is get bigger, faster, stronger.
Always important.
Yeah. Always important. Yeah, we always talk about that as well. And last year, I think your team, Pat, really kind of developed an identity over the course of the year, and a good one, because you had some success, and congratulations on that as well. Do you see that identity changing this year, just kind of based on the players you have, the talent you have, those types of things. Do you see that changing, or do you try and keep that the same from year to year?
I think the one thing we try to build, I told the team this day one on Monday, it's all about building, and it's a coaching cliche, but all coaches will say you either get better or you get worse, right? You rarely stay the same. And so we have to build on last year. We were 6-3 during the regular season and then won a playoff game. And that's what our goal is, to build on last year. So I like what we have. I like our team attitude seems to be there, and the expectation level is there, which is great.
Well, that's good, Coach, because the Purple Division is going to be interesting to watch this year. Some couple new coaches, high profile coaches, along with a returning state champion in DePaul Prep. How tough is that division and the conference? I feel like this is a question we can ask everybody every year, but man, the division itself, how much different is that going to be for you?
Yeah, it's we were just talking about it at practice a couple hours ago, and we're like, man, this conference is unreal. You look, and it's the world we live in. In fact, I was talking to one coach today, and I said, look at Carmel Mundelein, St. Ignatius, Providence, and IC. Those are four great football teams, and they didn't make the playoffs last year because this conference is so hard. You take those four teams, they would absolutely roll a lot of your IHSA playoff qualifiers, So we realize it, and it's just a matter of always trying to raise the bar and keeping our guys ready to face that stiff competition.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're looking towards some of the players that are coming back who will be seniors this year, as well as some of the younger players coming up. But what are your expectations about some of the players, and who do you expect to kind of step up in more of a leadership role for this year's team?
Yeah, we select our captains right after the prior season. So our three captains, leadership guys, would be Luke Doyle, Jack Sortino, and then Ben Clevenger. And I think all three of those guys are where the expectation is that they will be really great leaders. There's about three or four other guys though who have stepped up and leading by example. And so we're excited about that. I always try to reiterate to the team, it's not just seniors. We got to have buy-in from sophomores and juniors as well. But the three captains, I think, are well equipped to lead the team, and they're leading by example, and they're solid, good character guys.
You mentioned Luke Doyle, and we had him on as part of our player profile series last week. So he played a little bit of safety last year. And one of the more significant losses I think you had that's maybe unheralded is Marty Radkowski, and just how effective he was on both sides of the ball last year. Yeah. Do you see something similar for Luke Doyle? Will he get more time on both sides of the ball this year?
Yeah, I mean, if he can handle it, obviously he's such a quality player. Yeah, he'll play both sides of the ball with his main emphasis being on offense. I mean, he's a big play guy, and as we all know, it makes a heck of a lot easier to call an offense when you throw a hitch to a guy and he turns it into an 80-yard touchdown. Makes coaches look like geniuses.
Yeah. And what about, I know you lost a key player, right, in Ryan Kabaki, your quarterback last year was standout, really had a great season, and some accolades after the season, which were well-deserved. So that's a tough loss, obviously, but I know you've got some guys in the wings, some guys coming up as far as the quarterback position is concerned. Tell us about your quarterback situation heading into this season.
Sure. We have two guys competing for that job. We have senior Ben Clevenger, who played free safety for us last year. Ben will be competing against sophomore Cristiano Diamidi, who's a really very athletic, good arm, very dedicated type player. So it'll be fun to watch how that develops. I just told Cristiano yesterday, no matter what happens, you're going to be playing a lot be prepared. But we're excited about the quarterback position. And it's nice having a little bit of depth there as well.
So, all right, we on Varsity Voices, Coach, we love our defense here, and we have a weekly award called Zuko's Dog of the Week. Nice. Give me some guys defensively that we should look out for that you think might be up for a Zuko's Dog of the Week award this fall.
Yeah, well, one of the guys that has kind of stood out is Patrick Porcelli. He's like 6'3", 6'4", 250 pounds, going to play defensive line. He unfortunately was ineligible last year, but he's worked hard. Hasn't missed a workout, and he's developed. So I think he could be He could be a dog of the week candidate. I think obviously you got Luke Doyle back there. We have a lot of DBs this year. We have two, both corners are coming back, and Jack Getz and Dom Tomala. And then of course you got Luke Doyle. Ben Albert got a lot of time on defense last year. So there's a lot of guys coming back with a lot of good newcomers rising up. Dean Mia, Donovan Wells, Hawk Lawler. There's some guys who can step in and fill some of the shoes that the seniors left.
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple of players stepping up, Coach, and I was going to ask you that question as well. So I know you've got some key returners that we should be watching this season. Who are some of those key returners, as well as some of the underclassmen, or maybe some lesser-known players who might kind of surprise people this year, or players that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, well, of course, everybody talks about the O-line and the importance of the O-line and how, they don't get as much credit as they deserve. And so two of the returning starters we have are Alex McDermott and Jack Sortino. I already mentioned Jack as one of our captains, but both of those guys will really anchor our line. And so they'll be seniors. And then we had our freshman team last year was very good, 7-2, and won the division as well. And so we have a number of sophomores who we're going to take a look at on both sides of the ball. And like I said, we're pretty excited about those guys as well. Two of them really, we've got a couple big play receivers in Luke Crowder and Gio Sanderlin. Both of them are two, 6 foot plus lanky kids who can both run and got great hands. So it'll be interesting to see how they fit in.
So, Coach, if I did the math right before our interview here, you entering your 16th season as head coach?
Yeah, started in 2010. So
wow. All right. Well, the athletic success at Benet is really, in all sports, is well documented. What is it about the school you think that brings success, and how do you keep it going?
Well, I think, first and foremost, we're blessed with having great student athletes. We're very fortunate. In fact, I was just talking to a freshman who was in my I'm teaching summer school, and he was in my summer school class. And I'm like, man, you're a big dude. And I'm like, he was never on my radar. I'd never heard of this kid before. And so you get some kids like that who just kind of show up and they want to play football. And you're like, man, that's always a pleasant surprise. So first and foremost, I think we get great kids. I think athletics at Benet has been emphasis for us. And I think, our administration does a great job of investing in athletics. We're continually improving facilities. We're really excited about a new stadium that's going to be built starting next year, and we're real excited about that. So all of these things combined, I do think we're blessed with having a lot of great coaches too in the programs. Super happy for Coach Heidkamp getting his state championship in basketball. I've always felt that guy is the best basketball coach in the state, and it would be awesome to see baseball get one here this weekend.
Yeah, so I took a look at your schedule, and it's essentially the same as last year, right? At least as far as the Chicago Catholic League is concerned. And I think one of your call it preseason games is the same against Hillcrest. Might have one different Lombard North, right? Is the
Yes.
one after that. But looking at your schedule, which matchups are you the most excited about, or that you think will be especially challenging? I know all the games are challenging in the Chicago Catholic League, but as far as what you're looking at in your schedule and matchups, which ones are you really focusing in on at this point?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, it's the Purple Division games. Would be great to get another Purple Division championship. I think all three teams will be improved, so that'll we got our work cut out for us. And then, as crazy as this sounds, as everybody talks about, we've got Mount Carmel on the schedule. But I don't know. It's great to play great competition. I think they're one of the top 10 teams in the country. And so I told the team, I said, the days of this running clock stuff's got to end, man. Let's give them a game. I know Mount Carmel probably wants a game too, right? I mean, it's just fun to play against the best, and they are probably the best in the state. So, believe it or not, it sounds crazy, but I'm looking forward to taking on the best.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as the schedule goes, so you don't play Moline this year. This is the first time in several years you haven't either had to travel or they have to hop on the bus and take that long bus ride. Yeah. You're keeping it within DuPage County and Glenbard North that's week 2, correct?
That's week 2, and I get gather a little intel on week 2, and I'm like asking about Glenbard North, and I guess they have some superstar athlete. I'm like, that's not what I want to hear.
Right. You'd like to hear where the team is really down. Yeah. Really hurting.
Exactly. They took Batavia to like the fourth quarter. They lost by like 6 points. I'm like, that's not what I want to hear.
Yeah, your schedule. And how do you like the Catholic League setup and as far as the divisions go? And we've talked a lot here about several things from, scheduling and teams playing a little bit more national schedules. What do you think of the scheduling process and how it fits within working to help you or to benefit you in the Catholic League?
Yeah, it's the world we live in, and we all know how hard the conference is. And I kind of joked with coaches. We won the purple last year, and I said, hey, if we win the purple again, we get rewarded by having our conference opponents will now be NAS, JCA, and IC. Hey, it's one of those things. You achieve some success, and you're going to get a tougher schedule. We had some success coming out of right before COVID, and then we were in the green division, which was the second division from the top. And I'm like, I think Max Preps had us at the 4th toughest schedule in the state. I'm like, come on. It was unbelievable. But fortunately, the relegation type, process that they have in there is one of the plus sides to it. And I know, after we lost a few games up in the green, we got bumped down. It's the idea behind it is you're just moving teams around to create parity and in that regard, it has worked. But I think every coach is going to complain their schedule's too hard. So, right.
Right. Taking kind of one level up, coach, and considering what is going on within high school sports these days and the evolution of it, taking into account the transfers, you've got NIL, you've got right to play, et cetera, et cetera. What are your thoughts about high school sports and how it's evolving?
Yeah, I think college trickles down to high school. And I think you're seeing a lot of that now, just with the number of kids transferring. I don't know who sent me. Somebody just sent me a text about a kid transferring to Lincoln Way East. And I'm like, holy cow, they're getting another stud. I mean, they got the quarterback from Bolingbrook. And then, so kids seem to be moving. It seems to be somewhat of a trend from college that's now trending down to high school. And, there's certainly good parts of it. If you're the guy receiving a great player, that's a great thing. The NIL thing in college, I don't know if you wanted to talk about the college situation, you're probably more interested in talking about high school. But I just think the trends in college do trickle down to high school. I just listened to the video. It was one of the greatest speeches given by Nick Saban at College Game Day. And I love what he said. He talked about leadership, transformational leadership versus transactional leadership. And he said he learned about being a transformational leader when he was at, when he was at Michigan State. But he said now the landscape in college football is such that with NIL deals, everything's transactional, right? And I even think of, Dan, when we played college football, I mean, you're looking at campus life, academics, right? And now with NIL, what are you looking at? You're looking at your deal. So it's right. just the changes have made it more transactional. And I think that might be pushed on down to high school a little bit, not to the extent of college, but a little bit.
So continuing our hard-hitting look at sports overall and high school sports, I mentioned we had Luke Doyle on, Coach, and my one criticism of Luke is that we have to find a way to expand his food horizons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we at Varsity Voices are very focused on the food available in and around the schools that we cover. Yeah. Now, I love his choice of Claras. It's been a staple for us, a go-to for decades, and it'll continue to be so for us. But, we're looking for a place or two that might be unique to the area. His other choice is BW3 or B-dubs, which I have no issue with, but we're looking for something unique. If we come out and cover a Benet game, give us a place or two that you like to go to, that we can go and do a Varsity Voices Media Network food review on.
Yeah. So just to give you a little background here, before I was in the business world and then made a career change. So I was in the food business. So food, like we could talk for an hour about restaurants and food. Yeah. So I would say this, I've got a little rotation around Benet. It's Appalus Greek cuisine. It's like Greek street food. Great place.
That's okay. Furiously writing. Yeah.
They have a dish called scapazi, and it's basically almost looks like a quesadilla, but it's Greek. So you got the Greek meats in there, and they got the tzatziki sauce. It's amazing. It's fantastic. And then one of my staples is Taco Dale. And by the way, let me just say, Apple's was recommended to me by Lyman at Benet, so that has a lot of credibility.
All right, there we go. That restores my faith in the kids a little bit.
Right.
And then Taco Dale across the street. They know, I'm in there 2 days a week. Tremendous burritos and tacos. Love that place. But then when you mentioned chicken wings, if you're going to do a podcast from a food place, Crosstown Pub on Ogden has some fantastic wings. So
yeah, I've been to Crosstown. That's the one I've been to, which has fantastic wings, gigantic wings.
yeah,
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Can already give them 2 thumbs up as a review. But yeah, we have to do our due diligence. So it's been a little while. So Joe, we'll have to make our way over. We've got 3 stops now, 3 new stops.
All right.
For our
Varsity,
Varsity Voices food tour.
Yeah,
right.
I could give you 4 or 5 more if you want to keep talking food.
We only have so many weeks. Yeah, unfortunately. So Dan and I and the Varsity Voices have talked about merchandise, right? And we come up with sayings, Pat, regarding some of the schools, not all of them. And it's something that we've kind of developed over the course of time. But if you were going to create a T-shirt, say, regarding Benet football, and all it had on the front of it was a hashtag and then a phrase, what would that phrase be?
Wow, put me on the spot. Yeah, it's all right though. Hashtag, I think the number one thing I look for, that's fine. That's a fair question. I would say compete. That would
hashtag
be
compete. All right.
Yeah, I just, it's what it's all about. It's sport. I mean, it's what value does sports bring the world? It's entertainment value, right? But other than that, right, we're not producing anything of, in society. We're not making a better software program or building, curing poverty or curing cancer here. We're competing in a sport. And it's fun to watch. And it's I think the greatest lesson that's taken from football from a player perspective is competing, winning and losing, and still coming back and competing. So it would definitely be that.
Great.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Joe, I don't know if you have your finishing question. I know we've taken a lot of coaches' time, so
yeah.
So if I know you've got one that you love to ask, so
I do. Yeah.
All right, let's bring it.
And I'll try not to put you on the spot. Yeah, Coach. So, but last year when we interviewed you, and it was about this time, I think it was in June, maybe late June. I asked you the question. Next year, when we do this interview again, and we're talking Benet football, what do you hope that we are talking about? And here was your answer. Do you want to hear it?
Let's hear it.
So if we're sitting down a year from now and doing this same interview, what do you hope we're talking about as far as Benet Academy and Benet Academy football?
Well, first and foremost, it's a resurgence, right? And Bennett's back to where we were in that stretch of 8 years, right, where we made the playoffs. And and I told our team that's goal number 1: get back in the playoffs, because that's where the game's really fun. So for me, it's the resurgence of Benet football.
So when I hear that, Coach, I think check mark, right? You did that this past year for sure. And do you feel that way as well?
Great question. That's I would say this, because when I heard that, I thought to myself, I think you need a little more. You need more than 1 year, right? I think resurgence to me is defined by consistently making the playoff year after year. And so it's great. I think last year was a great first step. Let me put it that way, right? And now it's continue to take that second step and the third step and continue on.
Yeah. So is that what you next June, when we're talking about this again, is that what you hope we're talking about as far as Benet football is concerned?
Yeah, I'll keep with the resurgence theme here, and then next year at this time, play that for me, and I'll tell you.
Okay, we'll do that for sure. Yep.
Well, you checked the box this year, Coach. Or this past year. So well done. We are really looking forward to the season. We really appreciate having you on. It's been a great interview. Appreciate the food recommendations. That's going to go a long way.
Yeah.
So thanks for your time today.
Absolutely. Great joining you guys. A lot of fun as always.
Well,